Okay, what we're going to do today is we're going to review some important MATLAB skills that you can use to aid you in writing programs and also solving some problems. Now, if you want to actually access MATLAB, you can, of course, access the MATLAB software package at school on the desktop. But if you're at home and you've gone through the MATLAB on-ramp course, then you should be able to access it at home on this website. You just click on this button and you can log in, and then you end up with a screen that looks like this, okay? So you'll see that you've got a lot of the different tools, programs that you've saved online are also available. So let's just review some key basic commands for you. If I want to do some operations, I can just type in the operations, okay? If I want to suppress the output, I need to make sure that I put a semicolon at the end, and it'll actually suppress the output for me. If I'd like to put comments in, I use my percent symbol, and I can type in whatever I want, and it displays it as a comment. So if you're making yourself some notes and you just want to explain how things are in the command window, then you can use those percent symbols. Anytime you can assign things to a variable, like we could say var1 equals 4, var2 equals 5, and we'll suppress this one this time. And then we can do some multiplication. var3 equals var1 times var2, and then it gives us our answers. Okay, so if we want to assign something to a variable that's more than one word, we have to use the underscore key. So I'm going to say 1 underscore word equals 6 times 6, just to give you an example. Okay, so just some key things that you have to keep in mind. Now, what we're going to focus on today are some different fundamentals for programming. Now, before we do that, you'll see that my command window is a little bit of a mess, and I've got some other things over here in my workspace that I want to get rid of. So if I want to get rid of the variables that are in my workspace, I can type in the word clear, and you can see that it wipes that clean. That way I can start with a clean slate. And if I want to clean up my command window to erase everything that's in there, I can just type in CLC and it'll clean it up nice and neat. Okay. I've already created a few programs for us to walk through as examples, so I'm going to open those up. And whenever you want to actually create a new program, what you can do is you can go up to here, File, hit New, and it'll create a new script window for you. That way you can create a different program. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to look at some different commands, just that will be very useful for programming aspects. Now you can see here I've got two different commands that are going to become very useful to you. The first command is called disp, and that displays some text or information. So the disp, if I type that in, it's going to display whatever I have in the parentheses. Now it can display numbers if you like, or if you want to display text, you have to put that text inside of quotation marks or inside apostrophes actually. Okay, so you need to make sure that you do that. Now this program is showing us an example of another skill you're going to need to know, and that is asking a user for information. So whenever you're asking a user for information in a program, you need to use the input command. And in this line, you'll see that I'm basically asking the user how old they are, okay? Now, I do want to make sure that I point out to you that whenever you do this, you should also, and you see that I don't have this right now, but you should always put a space after the question mark. That way, you can have a nice, clean area of space after you ask that question, and your input key is not directly after the question mark. So I need to go ahead and save that to make sure that it runs. And I'm going to go ahead and run this for you right now. the name here that I've filed it as, and that's what we have to type into the command window to make sure that we run it, sample age. So here it says this program will ask your age, how old are you? And you can basically type in your age and we'll say 25, okay? And it stores it inside of that variable, okay? It suppresses the output. It didn't display it again because there's really no need for me to display it again. Now, if you want to remove that, we can, and I'll remove that and save it just to show you, just to confirm that you have actually entered the correct information. So we'll run this program again. How old are you? And then I'll say 26. And you can see that it drops it back out to us. So depending upon if you want to have it punch it back out to you or not, you can put your semicolon there to suppress your output. Okay, so that's the first program method or programming sequences I wanted to show you. I'm going to clear my variables and clear my screen just to clean it up a bit. And what I want to do for you guys next is to show you a couple of commands that you're going to need to use whenever you're given choices. Okay, so here the first one is called if then. Okay, now if you take a look, we're going to talk about this particular structure. Okay, what I've done is I've basically set up a simple program that's going to ask someone how old they are, and I've called this variable DR age, driving age, and I put a suppressed value in there because this is the key value. I know that if I'm 16 or older in the state of Maryland, I can drive. Okay, so basically we want the default to be drive, no, you cannot drive. Okay, now the if then, what I'm going to do here before I get into the if then is I'm going to ask the user their age, your age input, how old are you now? And I put a little space there, okay? And then it's going to compare that number for your age to driving age, because that's the value that I'm putting in my if command. So if you highlight that, you can see the if, I'm usually going to have an inequality or an equal sign there, okay? Now, if that is true, then it's going to go to the next line and execute that command. If it is not true, it'll bounce it outside of the program and it'll run whatever steps are left over. So if you take a look at the way my program is shown, you can see that the way that it's built, you can see that if your age, the age that is entered, is greater than 16, it's going to basically say drive, yes, you can drive. And then it'll display the sentence, yes, you can drive. Okay. Now, if the age is less than 16, it's going to go to the default value, which is no, you cannot drive. So let's practice running this. And whenever you write a program like this, it's good to test all cases in the program. Okay. So I just want to share with you, the name of this program is sample if then. I'm going to run it. How old are you now? Let's say that we are 18. Yes, you can drive. And we'll test it again. How old are you now? Let's say 15. No, you cannot drive. So you can see that it actually works for all cases. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and clear my variables and type CLC. Okay, and I'm going to go over to the other program here, which is going to very similarly look at if-else-if loops. So this, what we looked at before, was just an if-then, and it's really should only be used if you only have two cases, like you either have a yes or a no. Okay, with if-else-if, you want to use if you have multiple cases, and this is mainly an ideal situation for when you have an infinite number of possibilities. So if the number is less than 5, the cost is going to be this much. If the number is less than 10, it's going to be that much. And you can see that I ordered it that way. It'll go up in height. The more that I buy, the cost is going to be less expensive. Okay, and that's really what I've kind of built the program around. Okay, you can see that I used my, I went ahead and used my input command to ask for how many parts they're buying. Once that number is input, it goes through the program and does the correct calculation based on the loop. And then after it's done doing the calculation, it'll display the cost. Okay, so let's practice running this program. Right, so we can call this, see, this program is called sample EIE, and I named it if else if, and you can name it whatever you like, but I was just naming it that to make sense. EIE. How many parts are you buying? We're going to test our first case. We'll say 4. Okay, so our cost is $4. Okay, sample IEI. How many parts we're buying? We're going to say 8. Okay, and you can see that 8 times 90 cents is $7.20. Sample IEI. Again, I'm testing all cases just to verify that it works. How many parts are you buying? Let's make sure that we have something that's less than 20. We'll say 15. Okay, and your cost is 12. Okay, 15 times 0.8 is 12. Okay, and we want to see what it would be if I do over 20. So that's the last case that we'll test, and we'll test something very easy. How many parts are you buying? We'll say 100, and there we go, is 75. So that's how we are testing our program. Okay, now one thing I do want to say, I don't have a program created, but you could also use switch case. Switch case would be very useful if you have a finite number of options. If else if is useful if you have an infinite number of options. So make sure that you are aware of that. Okay, thanks for your time. There's one other thing I want to show you, and that is related to using MATLAB to solve simultaneous equations. So let's say that you're in algebra class and we have these two simultaneous equations. I'll type these in, x plus 3y equal 12. And I'm just putting them in the comments, that way you can see what they are. And I'll have 6x plus y equals -8. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and use MATLAB to solve those equations rather than doing all that by hand. Okay, now whenever we're doing this, we need to put these things, these variables, in a matrix. And after all, that's what MATLAB is named for, Matrix Laboratory. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the matrix A for our different variables, or coefficients for the variables. So we're going to do those first. And we always put the first row, the first equations variables in first. So I have a 1 and I have a 3. And I'm going to go to the next row. I have to hit semicolon to give me the next row. And then I'm going to type in 6 and 1 for that one, because those are the coefficients for the second equation. And I'll close that matrix. I can hit enter if I want to share it again, and it pops it up just to verify that it's okay. Or if I wanted to put a semicolon, that would have suppressed my output. I need to use another matrix for the answers that are on my other side. So I can go ahead and type in D, and you see that the matrices, they're typed inside of brackets there. So I'm going to type in 12, semicolon to go to the next row, and -8 for my second answer. Close that. I'm going to suppress this one instead. Okay. And we can actually type in D just to display it again if we want. Okay, so if we want to go back and look at the equations again, we can scroll up and see those. Now to actually solve this is very simple. I'm going to assign the answer to another variable. I'm going to use C, and I'm going to say equals. I'm going to take the first matrix, and I'm going to do a slash here, and this is the slash that's over the enter key, okay, B, and when I do that and I hit enter, it gives me my answers. It solved my equation, okay? So you can see that's a very easy way for us to do this calculation in MATLAB.